This morning's news was that we dosed our first patient in an indication called multiple systems atrophy. This is an untreated disease. There's no therapy for it. It's a fatal disease.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Ivor Elrifi. He is the CEO of Tiziana Life Sciences. And Ivor, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Good, Steve. Thanks very much for having me. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's, interesting news out from the company today about dosing your first patient in your phase 2A trial. Let's start there. Tell everyone a little bit about the trial and more importantly, what you're trying to do.
Sure. So just as a reminder for everybody, our drug is called Foralumab. It's a monoclonal antibody that binds CD3, and we deliver it intranasally. And what we're trying to accomplish is reducing neuroinflammation. So that's inflammation in the brain. That neuroinflammation is caused by certain cells called microglia that secrete neurotoxins. And what we're trying to do is convert them from activated to suppressed microglia. And that type of neuroinflammation occurs in a number of diseases. This morning's news was that we dosed our first patient in an indication called multiple systems atrophy. This is an untreated disease. There's no therapy for it. It's a fatal disease. It moves very quickly. At the beginning of the disease, in most cases, it looks a little bit like Parkinson's, but then it gets much worse and it progresses very rapidly. Um, we are very fortunate to have an excellent team as our PI and associated doctors. So Dr. Vic Khurana and Dr. Howard Weiner at Harvard are leading the study. Dr. Khurana is one of the world experts in MSA and multiple system atrophy. And there's tremendous excitement at the site for the treatment of this patient because there is no other therapy available.
And what sort of, now that you've got the first patient dose, what sort of numbers are you looking at as far as getting more patients involved? And I should mention this one is at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. So tell me a little bit about sort of the scale of this particular clinical trial.
So this is a small study
Yeah.
because the disease has is an unmet medical need.
Yeah.
Very few patients are required. They're very sick patients. So in this initial study, we'll be targeting about 5 patients, a
Mhm.
small number, but that's a meaningful number for this patient population. It's an orphan disease. It's very rare. And again, the community is really looking for any kind of alleviation of the symptoms.
So obviously the first patient now, what's the timeline around here? How will you follow this patient moving forward? Obviously, as you mentioned, these patients are incredibly sick.
So these patients will get Foralumab 3 times a week for 2 weeks on, 1 week off. We'll study this particular group of patients for 6 months. They get a PET scan at 3 months. They get a workup every 3 months. And I think by 6 months, we expect to see a significant reduction in neuroinflammation, and we'll see if that correlates into alleviation of some of the clinical outcomes that these patients suffer from.
And lastly, Ivor, obviously such a significant milestone for the company as well. Can you sort of talk about the company now at the point you're at right now and really where you'd like to see things go?
Sure. So this is our fourth clinical trial. We have an ongoing clinical trial in secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, SPMS. That trial is about halfway enrolled. We are starting a trial in mild Alzheimer's patients. That's a phase 2 randomized placebo-controlled trial. We already have treated a second arm of that study in a non-placebo-controlled and expanded access trial. We've treated a patient and if you go to our website, you'll see an interview with that patient on ABC News, actually. It's very interesting. And he's experienced a very significant reduction in neuroinflammation after being treated with Foralumab. The third clinical study we're doing, and that's again, you can go to our website and you can see the images of his brain actually. The third study we're going to do is in ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a terrible disease. Time from diagnosis to death is usually 3 to 5 years, and there's no effective treatment. That study will start, that's a phase 2 study that will start in September. And obviously, today we announced we started the study in MSA. We have a couple of studies upcoming. I won't, no spoiler alert, I'll save that for another day. But we're looking for top line readouts in most of these trials by end of Q1, Q2 of 2026. So just around the corner.
All right, we'll wait to hear on that. Thank you so much, Ivor. Great to see you again. Really appreciate the update.
Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.
All right, there's Ivor Elrifi. He is the CEO of Tiziana Life Sciences.